We need to save our fantasy football teams. Now, last week we got crap because we did this video and we gave you a bunch of holds, which does not help at all. And let me just tell you, that's actually kind of valid. And so we're going to try to fix that this week and give you some tangible advice.
We had a couple of sells on there.
We did have some, but it was mostly holds when I scrolled through the video. The thing with this video, though, is you have to listen and watch and not just scroll through and see the verdicts. Otherwise, you're not going to hear the discussion about all of these players and all the players around them, because even in the holds, we do talk through some of the different moves you could make with these guys. So watch the video, but if you enjoy the video, make sure you drop a like and make sure you're subscribed as well. Let's start with Brian Thomas Jr., who I actually, to be honest with you, I know they obviously didn't have a game. I don't know. 20 minutes ago, he's not expected to be traded, so that's good at least, I guess. But in terms of his injury, I actually don't know. Like with Brian Thomas Jr., he's been disappointing this year. When we're looking at his game log so far this year, you're talking about he had the really, really good game one time this year. And then outside of that, he had 23 points against Seattle. 10, 12, 7, 9, 8, and 6. Okay. We have Las Vegas in week 9. We have Houston in week 10. We have Los Angeles in week 11. So a couple of good games in there. And then Arizona, Tennessee, and Indianapolis. It's honestly a decent schedule for Brian Thomas Jr.
He'll cook the Colts.
So he would definitely will. So if you have Brian Thomas Jr., what are you doing? Well, let's just look. I want to give you some, because again, we're trying to find guys in your lineups that are killing you on a week-to-week basis. And if Brian Thomas doesn't play this week, first of all, if you drafted Brian Thomas in the first, I understand you're in a really hard spot regardless. But just looking here at the expert consensus rankings, if we're going to say sell here, which I'm fine doing that. If we're going to say sell, which realistically, I don't know. If you are 1-6 and have Brian Thomas Jr. and are desperate, maybe you have to sell. But I think, in my opinion, I would put Brian Thomas Jr. more as a buy with his upcoming schedule, and I think he's probably going to be better than what the prices he's going at right now. Now, when we're looking at the guys, let's just compare and contrast some guys in this range. Deebo Samuel, obviously safer, but Brian Thomas has more upside. Jalen Waddle, I would probably take over BTJ at this point. Devontae Smith, Smith's been so good this year. It's hard to say that I would do that. But Ted McMillan, if you want to trade Ted McMillan for Brian Thomas Jr., I would do it. I would honestly be comfortable trading any of these guys in the E tier down here in the expert consensus rankings for Brian Thomas Jr. I would do this in a heartbeat. Addison, Harrison, Worthy, Hunter, McLaurin, Allen, or QJ. I would trade every single one of those guys for BTJ. So if you don't have BTJ, but you are in desperate need of more upside for the rest of the season because you need to make a push, because you need to try to make your playoffs, I would trade those E-tier guys plus maybe a little bit for Brian Thomas Jr., which again, they're only ranked about 3 to 5 spots apart on average, so it's doable. If you have Brian Thomas Jr., and he's literally killing you every week, then those other guys in the D tier, I'm fine trading him for a Jalen Waddle. I'm fine trading him for a Devontae Smith at this point. I'm fine trading him for a DK Metcalf. So those are 3 guys I would, if I needed to, move off of him for. But again, I think it's situational. If we want actual, hey, here's what you need to do if you're stuck with these players in the different situations, I think it just depends on your team. But generally, I think he's a buy. I'm going to put Brian Thomas Jr. as a buy. Again, I think the upcoming schedule is a little bit more friendly, and I think there's a chance. Again, I still think he's going to bounce back. He looked really good, in my opinion, in the Seattle game before he got injured. And then he got injured in the Rams game. He already had 7 targets in that game. He was back to only catching 3 of them, but he only played 66% of the snaps in that game. So I'm leaning buy for Brian Thomas Jr. I think if you're struggling this year, you can get Brian Thomas Jr., a guy with wide receiver 1 upside at a much cheaper price right now, and I'm all over that. So I'm going to say buy for Brian Thomas.
So Omarion Hampton's going to be our next guy here. I think a lot of people were very, very excited, very optimistic about his outlook when he started producing at a very high level, and then he goes down with that ankle injury, goes on IR, and then the announcement comes out pretty soon after that is Hampton's probably going to be out for longer than 4 weeks, quite a bit longer. And when you're looking down their schedule, you've got 3 weeks before the bye in week 12 and then week 13. And just 4 days ago, it was announced that Hampton is still wearing a walking boot after week 8. So it doesn't look like Hampton's going to be back anytime soon. You're going to be missing most likely the next 4 weeks, including the bye week in week 12 with no Omarion Hampton. If you are 500 or below 500 and you need wins now, you've got to sell Omarion Hampton, because at this point we are not quite halfway there. After week 9, we'll be more than halfway there when to Hampton's return, and that's hoping that he's back by week 13. Realistically, at this point, with what his status is with the walking boot, if he's still in a boot, there's no way they're bringing him back before the bye in week 12. And that's, again, I think we're being optimistic that he'll be back by week 13. If you are a team that has 1 or 2 losses and you can get Omarion Hampton for a significant discount, I think that's fine with me. But more often than not, again, most teams that own Omarion Hampton are already pretty depleted. And at that point, since we are more than halfway, not more than, but close to halfway to him returning, this is a point like where you will have some contending teams in your, not contending teams, but you'll have like some top teams in your league look for like boosting their playoff chances where they would go ahead and invest in Hampton and give you something. So like he's going to move up incrementally in our rankings from here on out. And at this point, if you can get Breece Hall for Omarion Hampton, if you can get Kyron Williams for Omarion Hampton, Derrick Henry for Omarion Hampton,
easily.
Literally you have to do it if you're 500 or worse.
I don't think
you have to do it. You can't afford at this point to not have Omarion Hampton through week 12 at least, and that's a big concern. Like that is a huge concern. At this point, you're trying to salvage your season, so I will go soft sell for Omarion Hampton.
I mean, So like in the Flock League, for example, where I'm 5-3 and looking to be one of the stronger teams in the league.
I already said that. You got to hold them.
I probably have to hold, but I think the question more is of these guys or Omarion Hampton. Travis Etienne or Omarion Hampton?
Probably Etienne, honestly.
DeAndre Swift. Jalen Warren.
That one's pretty close, but I mean, all of these guys are offering you significant upside for the next 4 weeks, most of which actually have already had their bye. So 4 weeks of not 0 points.
Yeah. So I think that's the range, though. I don't think you're getting Derrick Henry or Kyron Williams, right? I don't think anybody's doing that. I think you're going to have to settle.
Well, as every week progresses,
you would think, but bad press this last week because he's still in a walking boot is not going to help that case at all. So
yeah, that is true.
We've heard some bad news recently, and I think it's going to push him down a little bit more. So. You can check out our full rest of season rankings, and also you can use our trade calculator to make these trades and not ruin your fantasy football team. Over for free on the Flock side, we've got the link in the pinned comment. Just create a free account with code DOMAIN, and you'll have access to all that. We'd love to help you win your fantasy league, and they're free to use. And so go check that out in the link in the pinned comment. But let's talk about Bowers. This one's pretty cut and dry to me. So I agree with you on Hampton. I would say probably soft sell.
Yep.
I'm going to say sell for Brock Bowers on a team where if you're watching this, again, context is everything. If you're watching this and you're under 500 with Brock Bowers, he should have been off your team a long time ago. Yeah. Because, perfect example, and this is less of an example because you did still acquire a great tight end in Jake Ferguson, but Nathan just traded away Tyler Warren in the Flock League. Nathan had no choice. Nathan had to down tier at tight end because tight end is not a position that he can afford to hold a significant premium at. Down tier at tight end, it's really a lateral move in tiers to us, but, whatever. To get other flex spot options because where he's lacking is his flex. If you're bad, you're lacking in your flex spots because it means your wide receivers and running backs up top aren't good enough, which therefore means your flex spots suffer. If your flex spots are suffering in fantasy football, there's really not a reason to have Brock Bowers at this point. You've got to stream tight end and go get the highest upside guy in that range you can. Okay, so let's just pull up the overall rankings on the site and see where Brock Bowers is ranked. Currently the tight end 4 still. And look, I get it. Bowers is probably going to be back this week. I know that. He's expected back. To me, it doesn't matter. You have a guy here who is, again, and if you are under 500, if you're above 500 and you have Bowers, good for you. Keep him. Absolutely keep him. But if you're under 500 and you're trying to just get in the playoffs, you got to sell this guy. He's going to be playing still hobbled or at least, risk of re-injury high. Playing on an offense where before he got hurt, he wasn't really playing all that well. I know he was playing hobbled. We don't know if he's going to be the Brock Bowers of last season this season just because he's been hurt all year, right? The injury does hurt him a little bit, literally. And so, with Bowers, again, if you're an above 500 team, you're fine just riding it out and you've got your elite tight end the rest of the year. But if you're not, let's look at the guys ranked around him right now in the overall rankings. And the site, again, listed as the tight end 4. You can go get T. Higgins, DK Metcalf, Brian Thomas, Jalen Waddle, Deebo Samuel, Jordan Addison, Marvin Harrison, J.K. Dobbins, Xavier Worthy, Corey Krosky Merritt, all those guys. And I know from an upside standpoint, from a ceiling standpoint, that Brock Bowers is ranked much higher than all those guys, in 5 weeks if he performs. I understand that. But again, like, it doesn't matter. If you're under 500, it's not going to matter if you have Brock Bowers on your team, if your flex spots suck. It won't matter at all. Your only hope of winning your league or getting into the playoffs to try to win your league is to get your flex positions better. That is your only hope if you're under 500. And you have to do that by moving Bowers. Again, if Bowers is just a missing piece, your overall good lineup, do not sell him. But generally, the teams that need to sell Brock Bowers are the teams that are under 500 struggling and their flex spots suck every week. Then you need to trade Bowers. You can stream tight end, or you can trade for a cheap tight end, and you can have better flex spots. Yeah, that's what you have to do. That's your only chance of getting back in the playoffs. So again, conditional, of course. Good teams, fine teams, well-rounded, they can hold Brock Bowers. But any team that needs to get back in the playoff picture, you got to move him for a flex guy. I just named a bunch of guys around him. At that point, you have to move him for any of those guys because you need to plug those guys in your flex, and they're going to be better options than what you have in your flex at the current moment.
So we just mentioned Travis Etienne and what we were potentially willing to give up Omari and Hampton for. Etienne being one of those guys, but I do think it is worth recognizing, worth talking about. Like, hey, Etienne, since his strong start to the season, has been average at best, and that's actually he's been below average. He's had 3 single-digit games, 8, 9, and 6 points. His volume has even gone down compared to what we were seeing at the beginning of the year, what we were sawing. And after the bye week here, we got Vegas, Houston, the Chargers, Arizona, Tennessee, Indy. Again, a mixed bag in terms of like run defense matchups. With Travis Etienne, I think people have adjusted to a point. When you're looking at expert consensus right now, he is ranked below Omari and Hampton. He is ranked a tier above Swift, Warren, and Dobbins, which I don't necessarily know if I agree with. I think Etienne does belong in that range with those guys, Swift, Warren, and Dobbins. If you could, if you could move off of Etienne and get one of those 3 running backs that I just mentioned plus something on top, then I would do that. But I do think that realistically, most people are valuing them in the same tier. And at that price, again, I know you guys hate it when we have verdicts as holds for these guys, but I wouldn't be selling Etienne right now. The reason being, running backs are starting to get really, really hard to acquire. Just ask me in the Flock League right now. Ask anyone in a league who's depleted of running backs because of the injuries that they've suffered from. Skatt, obviously, his ankle getting chopped off in the middle of the game. Hampton going down in the middle of the season. Quinshawn now with an injury that was just announced. He is day-to-day, which is good for you Quinshawn owners. But you've got Alvin Kamara, who just continues to move down boards. Kenneth Walker continues to move down boards. You're seeing some committee backfields like Chuba and Rico Dowdle, which isn't helping anybody. You've got Bucky Irving, who knows when he's going to be back. Saquon now just tweaked his hamstring. Anyone who has a consistently productive running back at this point is just holding on for dear life and crossing their fingers, hoping that they're not going to be the next one that goes down with an injury. So with that being the case, ETN being one of the few like true number 1 running backs in an offense that I understand is not looking really pretty right now, you have to stick with your guy. You've got to stick with someone who is showing any semblance of some opportunity and is actually staying on the field at the moment. And that's going to be the case for anyone. If you're a team that again is 500 or below and needs to take a shot on a guy that might be a buy low, you could look for potentially Travis Etienne. I wouldn't say like smash buy for Travis Etienne at the moment. Like I'm not going to overpay for him, but again, if you can get him at a discount from a contending team that's kind of freaking out about him, I would totally do that. But I'm just telling you, I'm being totally honest here. I think it's really hard to pry a running back out of anyone's team or roster at the moment. It is so difficult at the moment. Yeah. So I'm probably going to lean hold with Etienne.
Let's talk about Nathan's baby here, Justin Jefferson. And he's been really, when you're talking about his production this year.
Oh, he's been
the definition of mid. I mean,
so mid.
He's the wide receiver 16 on the year. He's obviously already had his bye, but even on a points per game basis for Justin Jefferson this year.
Look at that beautiful yardage too.
I
look
know.
At that yardage.
Yeah, the yardage is great. It's obviously.
You know how many touchdowns he's had in 8 weeks? 1, not 0.
That's
1.
Crazy. That actually crazy that he's only had 1 touchdown.
Yeah. That's the difference.
I mean, when you're looking at he's averaging 9 targets per game, which is well within the top 5, limit there, 10, 12, 10, 8 for the top 5 guys in our rankings right now. The receptions are a little bit lower than everybody else. And that's part of it. The yards are obviously great. Like Nathan said, his efficiency is fine. But the problem is, of course, he's averaging 15.3 fantasy points per game. There's really two pretty clear tiers. Wow, of guys that are scoring in the 20s here. Puka, Jamar Chase, JSN, Amon-Ra, and then so far, Rashee Rice. Lamb is a kind of the exception to that right now because he's not been healthy. But then it's Jefferson, London, Ibuka, Rome Odunze, Garrett Wilson, and Devontae Adams have all had about 15 points per game. So he's really falling in that second tier of wide receivers and not in that tier, like we mentioned, with Puka, Chase, JSN, Lamb, Amon-Ra, and then I would also say Rashee Rice. I would take Rashee Rice rest of the season over Justin Jefferson at this point.
Yeah.
And so
the issue is not Jefferson. Like
no, it's not.
You watch those games. I watch plenty of those games. Like he looks like Justin Jefferson,
and he's still very effective from an NFL perspective, and he's still fantasy productive.
Yeah.
15 and a half points is his absolute like, hey, I'm not getting used enough floor. But he's been killing you because you drafted him in the first round to be your elite star. And so what can you do? Well, I mean, I still think in a lot of places you can move Justin Jefferson for Rashee Rice. I think that's possible because when I'm looking at the expert consensus rankings over on the site, they're ranked back to back. You could.
I'll give you Jefferson for Rashee.
Yeah, well, I'm not trading Rashee. You know that. But I still think, I mean, let's just look at some of the trades that have gone down before I give you my verdict here. Somebody traded Travis Hunter and Tony Pollard for J. Jeff. Somebody traded T. Higgins for J. Jeff. These are within the last day. Kyron for J. Jeff. London for J. Jeff. Oof. T. Higgins and Olave for J. Jeff and Harvey. Fields for... That's a 1 QB. Wow, that's awful.
So very clearly here, here's my big question. I think it comes down to, do you prefer London or Jefferson rest of the season? Because London's floor is very clearly much lower.
Oh, absolutely.
But when you look at his target volume, it has been better than Jefferson's almost every single week. At least his ceiling of targets. You've seen 15, 16 targets for London. You've seen 8, 10, and 10. And for Jefferson, it's like anywhere from 7 to 11 every single week. And that's pretty much what it's going to be. It's not going to get any better with McCarthy coming back. Mm-hmm. And they're going to have to start McCarthy because Wentz is banged up. He looks awful, and they have to try and let McCarthy develop and cross their fingers and hope it works. Yeah. And you're not going to get extra passing volume from McCarthy. So I mean, I would potentially prefer London over Jefferson. I think it's pretty close.
Probably would too. I think I probably would too. And so that's a big one. I think with J. Jeff, though, I mean, again, when I'm looking at these trades, J. Jeff's trades, like what he's going for is cheap. So I just am not sure that a team who's like really struggling with Jefferson can afford, or without Jefferson can afford to go buy Jefferson is my thing.
Yeah.
So if you have Jefferson, this is one where I really would probably say hold. I know that's kind of a non-answer here, but if you are a struggling team with Justin Jefferson, I don't think I would sell him because you're not getting enough back for him realistically, unless you're getting London or Rashee Rice, like Nathan said. In that case, I'm fine moving him.
Do you like Ibuka or Rum over Jefferson? I think I'd still take Jefferson there because I think Jefferson's floor is higher than both of those guys.
I don't know, man. I guess Ibuka is banged up, but like realistically, that's a better offense.
Yeah,
and
you're getting
he had 9 targets yesterday.
You're getting the same target volume from Rome Odunze, where he had this ridiculous touchdown tear at the beginning of the year, and then since he's had no touchdowns, 5, and 18 points. So you've seen the floor, you've seen the upside, which is great for Rome. We love Rome. But I think that one I would still give the edge to Jefferson. I think basically all this conversation is resulting in us saying probably, like, you can shop and see if you get a guy that, again, we prefer over Jefferson, but in general, I don't think he's like a screaming sell.
I think this is the definition of a hold. His price is too low to sell, but you can't really buy him on a tough team. And so if you're a team that's calling for the playoffs, I'd hold him. If you're a team that's your championship team, I'm not necessarily going and buying him. I would hold. I'm gonna put a hold verdict in here. Sorry, but that really is the verdict for Jefferson here.
Yeah, Xavier Worthy is going to be our next guy here. Worthy has had a tumultuous season. Obviously, at the very beginning of the year, you saw him, miss multiple weeks because of that shoulder injury. Comes back, he's playing with a torn labrum. 8 and 9 targets in weeks 4 and 5, which was awesome. I mean, that was volume that we hadn't consistently seen. And then you go back down to like 4 targets apiece in weeks 6 and 7. Xavier Worthy is basically. He's basically JMO in an offense that's looking about as good as Detroit is right now with Rashee Rice coming back. I don't think you're going to see Worthy, who's pretty consistently on the field in 3 wide receiver sets. You're not going to see him be very consistent on a weekly basis. You're going to have high upside weeks when he has touchdowns. He can pop one off any given week. And you're going to have some weeks where, he salvages his day with solid production. He's very efficient with his opportunity because that's the type of wide receiver that he is in that offense. But you'll have some, 5 to 8 point games from Xavier Worthy, and you're just going to have to live with it in your flex. With the rest of the season outlook for Worthy, you got Buffalo, then you got the bye, then you have Denver, Indy, Dallas. This is a pretty, honestly, it's a mixed bag there. Buffalo and Denver is tough, and then the Colts and Dallas, you're looking at wheels up for every receiving asset in that offense for those 2 weeks. So when you're looking at the tier with Xavier Worthy, where he's currently being priced around some other guys, you got Jordan Addison right there. I would probably give the nod to Addison. Even though Addison's in a worse offense, Addison just every single year finds a way. And Worthy, I feel like every time he touches the ball and gets tackled, he looks like he wants to die because he's already banged up. Marv is in a terrible situation at the moment, and he's producing at the same level that Worthy is. If you want to take Marv there, that's fine. I traded Marv for Worthy essentially straight up, so that tells you what my preference was at least a couple of weeks ago. I would probably still stand by that. Travis Hunter, I would take the upside shot on Travis Hunter over Xavier Worthy right now. Obviously, Hunter's ranking compared to what most people are going to have him at is a little bit skewed right now in expert consensus because Danny has him like 5,000 tiers too high. But Hunter specifically, I do find intriguing rest of the season because BTJ has been playing very poor. And I do think that the upside that Hunter offers on a weekly basis and the target volume that he literally is just showcased in 1 week, granted, is an upside shot worth taking when Worthy's never going to get close to that target volume with Rasheed in that offense. Terry McLaurin, I would take a shot on Terry rest of the season over Worthy just because he's a 1. And then even a couple of guys in the tier below Worthy, like JMO. Like I said, I don't really view much of a difference. I don't have a large gap between Worthy and JMO, and they're a tier apart right now. If you want to take JMO, I'm totally cool with that. Wandell is going to have a higher floor than Worthy is going to. I'm fine taking Wandell there. So I think I'm kind of talking myself into saying, like, yeah, if you want to shop Xavier Worthy, see if you can get a guy in that tier that you prefer more, with the exception of Marv, because I think I would still sell Marv. The only reason Marv has this value is because of his name value. I would be shopping Worthy at the moment. I don't necessarily think that I don't think that Worthy's upside on a week-to-week basis is greater than any other inconsistent deep threat wide receiver who's a 2 in their respective offense. Insert Wandell, insert JMO, where it's like worth holding him or investing in him and saying like, okay, like his offense really, or his upside in that offense isn't really any greater than any of those wide receivers in that range. And there's a couple of number 1s there. So if you want to do that, I would look into it. I would take the shot. I go soft sell with Worthy.
And last but not least, the new running back 1 in the New York Giants offense is Tyron Tracy. What are you doing with him? Now, obviously, when you're talking about the usage when Skatt went out, he got 63% of the snaps in the game against Philadelphia this last week, 10 carries for 39 yards. Here's the thing with Tracy. I think I haven't necessarily seen where his updated ranking is going to be because I don't feel like everybody's updated their rankings yet over on the site. My anticipation here is that Tyron Tracy is going to be ranked too high once he gets up here. He's already ranked at the running back 28, but he's in the same tier as like Alvin Kamara, Kenneth Walker, Ramondre Stevenson, those guys. I guess that's fine.
Honestly not abysmal.
It's not. It's actually not that bad.
Yeah.
With Tracy, the nice thing is if you have Tyron Tracy, you didn't have a starting running back, and now you do, and they're really hard to come by. I guess if you can get a better starting running back for Tyron Tracy, then I would say go get it. But if you can get any of the guys in the D tier here, Swift, Warren, Dobbins, JCM, Monty, and Chase Brown, good, go for it. I don't think that's happening. And so I would say sell if you can get those guys. If not, he's a hold. So I'm going to say soft sell. See if you can capitalize on the hype and get any of those guys. I think you maybe could think about getting Dobbins. It would be a sell high. You'd buy low on Dobbins. I think maybe you could do that. I don't know. It depends on your league. But I'm going to say a tentatively soft sell for Tyron Tracy, just depending on where his price settles, of course. Make sure you get a good price for him. And again, I would try to get those D-tier running backs here in the expert consensus rankings. And so if you'd like to see the full rankings, by the way, again, you can check out that link below. But hopefully this is more helpful. Leave us some feedback in the comments. We'd love to... We're happy to make the videos as helpful as they can be to you guys. even if it means you end up dunking on us in the comments, that's totally fine. We're open to feedback, and so hopefully this is more helpful for you this week. But if it was, drop a like and make sure you're subscribed as well. We're trying to hit 40,000 subscribers, so each one of you that subscribes helps us meet that goal, helps support the channel. We're trying to invest back into the channel so we can make the videos even better, so we appreciate you guys doing that. All right, we'll have the rest of season rankings video out for you tomorrow morning. We'll see you then.